If your PFP NFT could talk, what's the first thing that you would say about your life choices?
Mad.
Hello, Web3 folks. Welcome to Token Talks, your go to podcast for all things in crypto, blockchain, and Web3. I'm Nitin, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about MAD NFT, who's going to be getting in the market. Today, we have a co founder of MAD NFT. Hey, JP. Yeah, welcome to Token Talks. Before we, begin the show, JP, just tell me, what do you think about the current market results right now?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you again. We had a great experience in Singapore when we first met you. So as the market, I think we're in a little bit of a phase where people are sort of sitting on their hands at the moment. They're a little bit skeptical. We do rely on a lot of retail people coming into this industry every time we cross the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. So I think people are getting a little bit frustrated because they expect the bull run to be in full flow by now, compared to like historical market values. But, I'm more than confident from where we've been. I've been in this space since 2017, probably stronger in 2019 onwards. But I'm more than confident that we're actually in a really good place, because I think that with the new legislations coming out and with new American presidency, how they're trying to pull with crypto, I think we're in a strong place. I just think people need to be a little bit patient, and that if you're in here just for the money, well, I understand market's going sideways and you get a little bit frustrated. But then from a builder's point of view, I think we're in a really good place where it's going to become easier for people to build. And there's a big shift right now to RWA, and real world assets for people who don't know what that means. But I really think that mainstream adoption is going to be just around the corner behind this news of new legislation. So I think it's a really good place to be right now, but I understand the frustration in the market.
Exactly. Since the new memorandum has been, entering the market these days. But, MAD NFT has been making the waves in NFT space that I know. But what set MAD NFT apart from the other platforms? Like, what's the vision behind it?
I think the big vision is because we're actually artists. Myself and the other co-founder, Jeffrey Williams. Jeff is a fantastic painter, and he's been doing large-scale painting, 6 foot by 4 foot, for many, many years. He's 60 years old. He's been doing this since he was a child, and selling them to a huge celebrity. So and myself being a graphic designer, tattooist, entrepreneur, we understand what artists want. So coming from that perspective, we're not trying to build tech from a technical standpoint where we only understand one side. We understand all different angles and avenues for the artists and creators, not just artists. It's not just about physical paintings, digital artists, and just musicians, everything. So what we've always tried to come from the perspective is that we are a creator-first economy. So I think that it gets a lot of respect from the point of view that we understand, and all the things and all the tech we use and we put in place are for them to win. And it doesn't mean everyone can't win. Of course they can, but we need to ensure that when we create smart contracts that allow royalties for artists to win, I think is so important. I think that's our biggest strapline where we are a creator-first economy, and we understand.
That's amazing. But you mentioned that, for artists out there. So for the artists and collectors out there, how do they get involved? And what are the biggest advantages of launching or buying NFT drops?
Right. So right now, the biggest thing I'd say with that, say 2 years ago, people would have said, oh, low fees. And they would have said, royalties. Of course, these are important, but there's been a big shift. We're looking at real world assets, as I mentioned earlier, is that it's so important to have proof of provenance. Every time we look at something, why we're creating something, you have to see a problem and then create a solution. Now, I'm not saying that other marketplaces aren't doing this, but their main priority is to sell, and the shift that we want to create is our priority is to make sure that people are safe. When you come onto the MAD platform, the whole point of it is being quick and easy so that you can get on chain and put your art on blockchain. Therefore, you are secured from a point of view of saying, hey, this is my art, however format that looks like. And then your royalties are in place. And then the fun begins. Then you join your communities, you build communities, and then you start trading and the volume comes, so everyone wins in that sense anyway. So we're still in the same game. It's just we're trying to, from a different perspective, how do we create things differently? It's because from the creator first point of view, and then the safety of providence, so that, one of the biggest things that happens in the art world is theft. So that's kind of how we see ourselves different.
That's perfect. That's perfect. But how does MAD NFT integrate a blockchain technology to enhance the user experience? And are there any unique facilities or maybe mechanism behind it?
Yeah. So what we've looked at since day one, since probably building strong in 2021, from the last market, is that from the last bull run, is that we looked at what was out there, and going back to what I said, is that we understand more from an arts point of view. We tried to jump on as artists. We were creating NFTs, and we were like, well, that's great, but that doesn't accommodate this, that doesn't accommodate that. So that's how we went, oh, well, we're frustrated artists that it isn't quite what we wanted. So we needed to create something. We thought, oh, this would be easy. We'll just get a developer and create the things we wanted. But were we in for a shock? 3-4 years later, building, a lot of expense, a lot of pain, tears, sweat, sleepless nights, and traveling around the world, meeting great people like yourself. And we realized is that it's not so easy, hence why it hasn't been done. And sometimes some of the companies are already out there, some of the great ones, like Magic Eden and OpenSea, etc. So many, is that, they're so deep from being the legacy models, is that it's hard for them just to maneuver things. I think it was a quote, I think it was by Vitalik, is that it's like trying to change the engine while the engine's running. It's so for us, we put in things that would be more common into artists from a one-to-one point of view. So, when you look at like things like Shopify, first of all, it's easy listing. Great. We want to be easy listing so people can get on chain and just put their art on chain. Well, secondly to that, how easy is the buying experience? Is it easy? Okay, simplify that. And then, the safety models, smart contracts, they're the most important thing here, so they don't get hacked. So they're safe for both parties, not just artists. It still has to be safe for buyers, the royalties. So I would say from a transparency point of view, that's where we really are strong, is that there's nothing hidden. There's no mechanics where the artist can be overridden for their royalties, because you have certain things put in place for that. And just making sure that we're in a position where we can create it RWA tangible, claimable for communities, so that this isn't just a cliche NFT drop, buy, sell. This is literally a user experience which you're aiming towards people being able to get tangible products or not, or resell. But then, like in the real world, so many people, like artists, let's talk about musicians, for example, they sell out their full concert, but then they don't get anything back when people resell those tickets for double the price or treble the price.
Absolutely.
When you look at 1155 models, etc., we've created something that the artists still win off royalties on secondary sales. So we're solving some of the issues, and I think is that the way that we've created things, and we haven't reinvented the wheel, but we've definitely seamlessly made a user experience a little bit simpler for people to understand, crossing the bridge between Web 2 and Web 3. And, we're quite proud on that. And look, we're not finished. We're in the middle of finishing some stuff with a company called Web 5 in India, which are amazing, that you're closely linked to. And we're really excited about that.
That's amazing. But since you're creating an ecosystem where every community can be getting or rewarded and maybe explore the MAD NFT, which is a great platform. So with an evolving NFT landscape, how do you see NFT drops shaping the future of the digital ownership and maybe creative monetization?
Yeah, so I see the future of NFT drops just being as quick as grabbing your phone out and uploading something on TikTok, and then that being on chain. But then that's really cool. There's some in the base ecosystem right now, which are really cool. But not only that, it has to be the next step. We had NFTs, we had people understand that PFPs, and then this is all a learning experience to the point where people are like, well, we want to get more business related things on chain for proof of provenance, obviously. But I think the next step is when truly having communities. You look at some of the biggest drops there's been in history. Forget just NFTs. Look at products. Let's look at Yeezy. When they used to drop Yeezys back in the day, and people couldn't get them, and the secondary sales would go crazy. It's all about exclusivity, and this is what artists need to recreate. So the next step would be communities and having claimable, tangible assets, as I said, and being able to the next things, the inventories for products come in are product passports. How do we ensure that from factory to door that is accounted for? So that's B2B, that business to business, where we can go, right, that's a great proof of providence. But then secondary to that would be the retail user buy-in, so that we need buying that easy drop. So it's been right from the factory to my door. We know who owned it. And it doesn't have to be by JP, it could be by a wallet ID. So then if you want to claim it, then you KYC and come into the mainstream adoption of, sort of where Web 2 and Web 3 meet. And then you need to show who you are. You need to do KYC. And then if you want to resell, you either claim it and have it and wear it or use it, or you actually resell it. And so I think that's how sophisticated it's gone and how far we can take it. It's just, looking at the legislations, how they change. I think they change in our favor, and people understanding education. Just put it down to education, Hopefully this is...
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I thought a bit slower.
Yeah. Looks like, a lot of things into the picture, which is coming down onto the NFT for sure in the market. But, can you give us a little bit sneak peek about, exciting upcoming drops, or maybe something that community would be, watch stand for the MAD NFT?
So, the next very exciting news, Chris, is that we will be relaunching. And the reason being is the shift in the market. We strongly believe we're doing this for the right reasons. We're building to make a difference. MAD stands for make a difference. If we just jump on the bandwagon and still recreate the wheel of what everyone else is doing, we wouldn't be true and authentic to ourselves. So we are passionate builders. We are passionate creators. Next in line for us is being able to create everything that I just spoke about. Being able to create a quick, on-the-go, easy app that average person can just jump on it. And if there's a family picture and they really want to keep it for generations, they can take a picture on the app and just have it like me and you did in Singapore. Have a selfie, get on chain, right there. Now, I remember doing that and you were like, whoa, that's cool. And then that's from average person coming in, and that's how we're going to introduce people to blockchain. Second to that, then you got the next user who's an avid crypto blockchain user who wants a bit more. He wants to be able to put his project on there. So great, amazing. We're going to have the tech for that. We have a pro version and a normal version where people, just don't want to have all the metadata stress and all those things. Then you have a pro version where people can come in and do everything they need as a developer. And then next to that then is the next steps. And these are all going to be on a fixed timeline where we introduce people in slow steps, where then we'll have B2B products where businesses who might want to sell real world assets like properties or art or wherever they choose, they see fit for having on chain, is that they can be able to swap the NFT as a proof of provenance for the purchase for both the consumer and obviously the business themselves selling it. So I think it's going to really be a game changer to get people excited about getting on chain and why it's going to be of a strength to them to have it, and it'll be their blockchain on the go. And that's what we want, because they carry it every day in their pocket and they text and WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, everything. So why not use their MAD app to keep on chain and record everything in like a password manager, on chain.
Yes, exactly. That's something amazing, since you are the person who put the magics upon the NFT, and probably the Jeff is the one who's, trying to bring the glory in the market. I've seen his paintings, he has done some amazing work, and definitely that defines the NFT into the MAD NFT, which makes it unique. But here's a very important question, JPT. If your PFP NFT could talk, what's the first thing that you would say about your life choices?
Mad. Yeah, I think look, going back to you said about Jeff, we wouldn't be here without Jeff and we wouldn't be here without me. We're perfect partnerships. When we came in 2021, he changed my life as well. And what he did was, not only his art, his colorful life, how he sees the world. He's so positive, as you know, Nitin, you've met him.
Yeah, well, I met him. He's positive, yeah.
And he's really here to make a difference. It isn't all for the show. It isn't his life is a show. You know, he lives in the fast lane.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so he is an inspiration to all that meets him. So it's about, you know, and that's true, you know, and this space, this everything that we're building, it is truly mad, but mad with a double meaning, making a difference. So we have to make sure that bringing this technology into people's lives is not going to make it more confusing, than it's really going to make things easier. Because, like I said, we want to solve problems. So we're not always going to be perfect. There's going to be some times where, you know, we're not developers ourselves. We work with developers. I've obviously learned a lot in this space in the last couple of years, and understand how to, I'm an entrepreneur and run multiple businesses, so I understand how to run businesses. But the tech, we think we get ahead one week, the next week there's new tech. There's a new broken standard, there's a new hack, there's a new legislation. So we always have to move, and we're just thankful for the community's been a little bit understanding that this is the case too. Because I could imagine coming in here for the first time, and my frustration. I was an avid user, and I still am to this day, of Cardano. I was very early doors in there, and I was the second person to mint an NFT in the whole space as a creator, and I would have been the first, but I couldn't find a developer quick enough. And but I'll take second. There's an amazing hacker called Alessandro got in there first. But I met so many people, and why I said that is because, it's been a crazy ride and enjoyable. But I remember being frustrated that they didn't have smart contracts, and it's like, oh my God, how come Ethereum has smart contracts, you haven't? But one thing I've learned in this space is all about being safe. It's about doing peer review papers and understanding that that these things are not a risk to people coming in, and more people that we can show that it isn't a risk. Because when I talk every day in the street, I'm from Wales, and it's a small country of 3 million people. Not many people know what blockchain or crypto is. And when I speak to them, they're like, oh, it's a scam, isn't it? Or it's quite wrong, isn't it? Is it real? Exactly. We all go through these conversations. So the more that we can create it secure, the more we can create it a good environment, people that come in and understand about education, about safety, is that people are going to go, wow, I wish I got into this sooner.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing, JP. Yeah, definitely. All right, that's a wrap on today's episode. A huge thank you for JP for joining us today on Token Talks. Thank you for your insights. The NFT were incredible. The MAD NFT were incredible. It's going to be launched in the markets community. Stay tuned, stay updated for that. And we truly appreciate for sharing your knowledge with our community, JP. Thanks for joining on Token Talks.
Thank you very much for having me, and see you all soon.
Got questions? Connect me on Twitter, Token Talks Web3. Be sure to share, subscribe, and leave a review on Spotify. Till then, hold on the mic. Let's speak Web3.